So we go to Economics Past Paper 1, January 2019, AS level, market in action. In September 2017, the Malaysian government introduced an indirect tax on hotel rooms charged at RM10 per room per night. And so which area represents the government revenue from this tax? So before we go to that, what is an indirect tax? An indirect tax is a tax on consumption or spending. That's why we call it indirect tax. So for government revenue comes from taxes. So that means government charges, if government wants to increase revenue, it could do it through indirect taxes, which means for whatever you consume, you have to pay tax on it. That increases government revenue. So yeah, they say which area represents government revenue from these taxes. So for government revenue, look at the graph here. We have the demand curve and the supply curve. So due to government revenue, increase in tax, so the supply curve shifts from S to S tax. There's a demand curve which is going to contract here. So for government revenue, it's going to be based on supply and demand. So for the supply curve, it increases from the indirect tax increases from the tax burden for consumers will be from P to P1, which is the demand curve. We have it as UW. That's the demand curve. At P and P1, that is what consumers are going to pay. P1, that's what consumers are going to pay on tax revenue, which goes to government. And for suppliers, the leftward shift from S to S tax, from S to X tax, means that suppliers will be paying P to PO, from PO to P. Do you get it? From PO to P. That is what producers will be paying. Do you get it?
UV and PO to PO.
Yeah. So the total of tax revenue that goes to government is from XY or WUV. XY, UV.
XY, UV.
Yeah. That's demand. Supply move from X to X tax. So that means from VU or XY. Do you get it there?
Yes, sir.
So that is the total revenue on tax. So yeah, government revenue comes through taxes. The example is an indirect tax, which is a tax on consumption or spending. This is a sort of indirect tax. An increase in indirect tax will mean that producers' tax burden will be at P to PO, VW. That is for producers, and consumers will be paying P to P1, which is UW. Do you get it? So therefore, the tax revenue will be XY or UV. So the total tax revenue for government will be XY or UV. So we check where XY and UV is here. XY, UV, XY, UV. So we have P1 UX. It is not going to be UX. It can't be UX. We want UV or XY. So UV is at B. UW no. PWV no. So at the beginning we have XY or UV. That is the government revenue on tax. Do you get the point here?
Yes.
Government revenue on taxes is XY or UV. So we only have UV here, which is at B. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So that's question 1, which is B. 1A, which is B.
Okay.
And the explanation is what I just explained now. Government revenue comes through taxes, and indirect tax is a tax on spending. So if tax on spending increases, the supply curve is expected to shift leftward, because consumer surplus and producer surplus would fall based on that fact. As a result of that, you are not expecting to see an increase in the supply or demand.
Okay.
Because demand curve will contract based on the fact that prices are increasing, and supply curve will shift leftward because it represents an increase in cost of production for them. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
The demand curve will contract, which means demand is expected to fall. It will contract because, look at the graph again, please. It will contract from X to U. You see, it's contracting. The demand curve is contracting from X to U. That means there's an increase in price from P to P1. That is contraction. Do you get it?
Yes, sir.
So that means demand will fall. At the same time, supply would fall. Is it clear? Okay. So the answer is B, and that's the explanation. We go to question 2. Are you there?
Yes, sir.
For question 2, it says some consumers remain with their current bank even when higher interest rates on savings accounts are available at other banks. if you are having what is interest rate? I didn't know write that, but let me explain it. Interest rate is the price, is the benefit of savings and the cost on borrowing. So here, consumers, they have the choice to move from their banks to another bank that has a higher interest rate. That allows them to maximize their welfare satisfaction, but they are not moving. So if they are not moving, that means they have created a certain habit which does not allow them to maximize their satisfaction, and that is irrational behavior. So an example of irrational behavior is consumer inertia.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get it?
Yes, sir.
So yeah, this behavior is a sort of irrationality. This means consumer inertia. So the answer is A. Do you get the point here?
So
It is
consumer inertia
is a sort of is it's the ability, the inability of consumers to do the right thing. That is inertia.
because they have a relationship with
Yeah,
the
they stop being rational.
irrational.
They are irrational. So here, that's the answer is A. So let's check B. Why it is not B? Consumer being good at computation. If consumers are good at computation, they would know that a higher interest rate is good for them, is ideal for them, so they would move. It's not B. Consumers feeling undervalued by their current provider. If they are feeling undervalued by their current provider, they would move because that means they won't be happy with the current provider. Occupational immobility. It's not about occupational immobility because occupational immobility simply means the inability of workers to switch from one job to another. So it is not D. So the answer is A. So the explanation is consumers. Okay, consumer inertia is as a result of consumer being lazy to switch from one product to another or one service to another. This means this makes them not to maximize their utility. And utility is the amount of satisfaction that can be derived from the consumption of any commodity. That's the explanation for question 2B. We go to question 3. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
It said the African Development Bank is to provide funds to the governments of Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana. That's ADB. So the finance is to be partly used to fund the provision of public goods. Which one of the following statements about public goods is true? Public goods are an example of government failure. No, it's not. Public goods are government intervention, not government failure. Public goods may be provided by the private sector. Yes, public goods are not provided by the private sector. Please do not change anything there, okay? Okay. Public goods may not be provided by the private sector. Yes, that's a public. It might be provided by the private sector. So there is excludability in the consumption of public goods. No, public goods are non-excludable and non-rivalry. It's not C. There's a rivalry in the consumption of public goods. It's not. I just said it's non-excludable, non-rivalry. So it is not C. It is not D. It is not A. So the answer is B.
Mm-hmm.
Good. So the explanation on that.
I did.
Question 3, right?
It's B.
Underprovided. Yes, it's B. So now I wrote public goods are
meant to be non-rivalrous.
So public goods are non-excludable and non-rivalry. So public goods are non-excludable as it's difficult for the private sector to stop the free riders from consuming it. That's why they would not want to provide it. You know the free rider problem?
Yeah.
When an individual benefits from what he or she does not pay for.
Pay for it.
I think the point is clear there.
Yes.
Okay. Also, the private sector may not be able to charge a higher price on them. As a result, they may underprovide them. Is it clear?
Mm-hmm.
So examples of public goods are the roads, the bridges, street lights. Clear? So go to question 4. The table shows the...
I did not answer question
it's
4.
okay, I will explain it anyway. The table shows this is. You can have it.
Mm-hmm.
The table shows the total utility gained by Rashid as he increases the number of bottles of water he consumed in one day. You should use the table to show your workings. So first, what is marginal utility? Utility itself is the amount of satisfaction that can be derived from the consumption of any commodity. So when we talk about marginal utility, it's the extra satisfaction you derive from the consumption of an extra unit of product. That is marginal utility. And there's diminishing marginal utility, which is a decline in satisfaction as soon as an extra unit is being consumed. A decline in satisfaction as soon as an extra unit is consumed. Is it clear?
Mm-hmm.
So here, the formula for total utility is TU2 minus TU1. Do you get it? So let me write it out, please. So marginal utility is TU2 minus TU1. That's the formula. So here we have our marginal utility to be, the first one is 10, which is the same, because that's the first extra produced. So the second one will be 22 minus TU2 minus TU1.
So
22
you
minus 10.
subtract
The second utility from the first. So marginal utility is 10. The second one will be 22 minus 10, which is 12. 30 minus 22, which is 8. 36 minus 30, which is 6. 40 minus 36, which is 4. So those are the marginal utility. Now they said diminishing marginal utility first occurs when consumption increases from diminishing marginal utility occurs when it starts falling, and that is from 2 to 3. Because from 2 to 3, from 2 bottles to 3 bottles gives us lesser. It was 12 initially, then it fell to 8. So that's where it started. So it's from 2 to 3. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So let me have the paper. I think you understand it now,
No,
right?
I understand.
Yeah. So you have to define marginal utility, which I did here. Then there's diminishing marginal utility. The diminishing marginal utility first occurs when the consumption of bottled water increases from 2 to 3. I think that is clear. So we go to okay, yeah, and I said as the satisfaction derived from the taking extra bottles starts diminishing from 12 to 8. I think I said it already. I think that is clear.
Yes, sir.
So go to question 5. Which one of the following is most likely to result in an increase in consumer surplus in the market for water? First, what is consumer surplus? Consumer surplus is the difference between the amount consumers are willing to pay for a product and the amount they actually paid. That is consumer surplus. Do you get it? So they said the removal of subsidy to butter producers. If subsidy is removed, the cost of production would increase, and that would reduce consumer surplus. It's not A. Are you with me?
Yeah, I'm with.
An increase in the cost of milk used in producing butter. If there's an increase in the cost of milk, it will also increase the cost of production, which means consumer surplus and producer surplus will fall. It is not
It's
B.
not that.
An increase in global consumption of butter.
Yes.
It is C. So why is it C? It is C because an increase in the global consumption of butter means there's an increase in the demand for butter. So if there's an increase in the demand for butter, it would have meant that consumers are paying the amount they are willing to pay. Do you understand? So they are still. It means consumer surplus is increasing based on the fact that whatever the price is, consumers can still pay more than that, and that is why they are increasing their demand.
Yeah, they're
You get it?
increasing their demand.
Yeah. Consumers buying more margarine a substitute for butter. It's not. It's not this. So here I wrote consumer surplus is the difference between the price consumers are willing to pay for a product and the actual price they paid. So an increase in the global consumption of butter will mean that consumers are paying lesser than what they can actually pay. So this is a consumer surplus. So the demand curve, there's going to be a demand curve which will increase from D to D1. You get that?
Yes.
And this is it.
Shifts rightwards.
A rightward shift in the demand curve from D to D1.
Okay.
So that's the point there. I think it's clear.
Yes, sir.
So we'll move on to question 6. Are you there? A survey found that 30% of 18 to 24-year-old who traveled to the USA did not have travel insurance. This is despite the possible medical costs which travelers might have to pay, as shown in the table. So there's information. So one possible reason why some 18 to 24-year-olds, old tourists, have no travel insurance is that one, there's imperfect information about medical costs when traveling. That's the answer anyway. It's A. So B, they said there's no opportunity cost when tourists pay for travel insurance. There's opportunity cost, so it's not B. The indirect taxes imposed to travel insurance have decreased. No, there's nothing like it's not an indirect tax. It's an insurance. Tourists are geographically immobile. If they are geographically immobile, they shouldn't be moving. So it's not D. So the answer is A anyway. So I wrote. So tourists may have no travel insurance because they don't understand or know the importance of having it. So this might be due to asymmetric information. That's information gap. So the answer is A anyway. So what is asymmetric information? Asymmetric information occurs when one economic agent, like the tourist, has more information, or like the insurance provider has more information than the tourist. That is asymmetric information. So in this case, if travelers are aware of this cost, they would pay for insurance because they are less. They would have paid for insurance, but they are not aware. That might be the reason why they are not applying or paying for insurance. So lack of information or information gap means medical insurance is under-consumed. So because they are not applying, it means medical insurance is under-consumed. Do you understand? This will lead to market failure. Under-consumption or over-consumption is the market failure. I think it's clear.
Yes.
Question 7. In India, environmental laws means chemicals have to be disposed of at specialist waste management centers. To avoid costs associated with legal disposal, some firms have dumped chemicals in lakes and rivers.
The free rider problem.
No, this is a government failure. Environmental laws are government intervention.
Okay.
Environmental laws are government intervention to reduce market failure. So if government is intervening here and people are bypassing law, it means government failure. So it could be unintended consequence. Do you get it?
I understand.
Yeah. So they said there's illegal dumping of chemicals is an example of what? It's an example of government failure. So the answer is D. It's not positive externality. If it is positive externality, it has to do with production. A free rider problem is it's provision of public goods, so it's not. A network welfare gain. If there's a network welfare gain, it means government succeeded. There's government failure because the welfare gain in government intervention is lesser than the welfare loss. Here there's a welfare loss because people will get sick based on pollution.
Pollution, yes.
Do you get it? So it's a government failure here.
Negative externalities.
Government failure. Not negative externality is market failure. Welfare loss is government failure. Is it clear?
Mhm.
Please don't get them twisted.
Okay.
Okay. So government failure occurs when the welfare gain in government intervention is less than the welfare loss of such intervention. So environmental laws are passed to protect the environment and people. So the illegal dumping due to avoiding the cost may lead to health issues, and that is a government failure. Do you get it?
Mhm.
Is it clear?
Yes.
So go to question 8. Are you there?
Yes.
Government of the Philippines operates a buffer stock scheme for rice with the aim of maintaining the price between P1 and P2. P1 is the floor price, which is the minimum price, and P2 is the maximum price. So the supply curve shows the supply for 2017 and 2018, price of rice per kilo and this. Now they said in 2017 the harvest resulted in price PE and quantity QE. So the 2018 harvest would lead to here. So we have P1 to be minimum price and P2 to be maximum price, right?
Mhm.
So PE, QE are above the minimum price. Yes or no?
Yes.
So this means now, because it is above the minimum price, this means selling below the equilibrium price. It means they have to sell below the equilibrium price. And selling below the equilibrium price would discourage suppliers. Yes or no?
Mhm.
Because they won't be making as much as they could make. So this will result in shortage.
Shortage, yeah.
Do you understand? So because there's going to be shortage, it means government have to sell from their stockpile.
Yeah, from the start.
Because there's shortage now, government has to bring out the ones that they've kept. Do you understand?
Mhm.
So that will bring about, okay, they have to sell from their stockpile. So yeah, the government selling rice from its stockpile. That is the answer, which is C. Do you get it?
Yes.
A decrease in the price to P1 due to good rice harvest. No, there's no decrease in price. There's an increase in price here. There will be an increase in price here. Do you understand?
Mhm.
The government buying rice and adding to its stockpile. Government will not buy anymore here because there's shortage. Government have to sell the ones they have. It is not B. The floor minimum price is being lowered. No, the minimum price is not. It's higher. Do you get it?
Yes.
So the answer is C. So now, what is buffer stock? Buffer stock is where government buys and sell to maintain price between the minimum and the maximum price.
Mhm.
Do you get the point here? And the explanation I've given already, which is PE, QE are above the minimum price, which means selling below the equilibrium price will result into shortage, as government have to sell their stockpiles. Is it clear?
Yes.
We go to question 9. There's the extract. It said labor markets extra 1. Are you there?
Yes.
Mining in China. China has moved from a manufacturing base to a service-based economy. At the same time, there's lack of growth in the European Union. Both of these have contributed to lower demand for Chinese coal and iron ore. The Heilongjiang, Northeast China mining employment decreased from 488,000 to 359,000 between 2008 and 2015. Many older miners who lost their jobs lack the transferable skills or resources to retrain for other industries. Coal mining causes environmental damage and significant pollution. This results in health problems for people living in areas close
Coal mines.
to coal mines. For firms, these health problems have resulted in lower productivity and higher levels of absenteeism. Extracts 2. Let's see the first extract we need to do first so we can know the first question to answer.
It's extra 1 only.
Okay, extract 1. Let's do extract 1 first. Right?
Mhm.
So it said with reference to extract 1, Explain the impact of a decline in the demand for coal on wages and employment of coal miners. Illustrate your answer with a labor market diagram. So, the demand for labor first. The demand for labor is always derived demand. So, which means workers are only needed when the demand for the services, when the demand increases for firms. That's why the demand for labor is derived. Do you get my point on that?
Yes.
The demand for labor is a derived demand. Why is it a derived demand? It's a derived demand because it is only when workers are needed they are being employed. You don't employ workers you don't employ them and start paying them for nothing. Do you understand? So yeah, the demand for labor is in coal mining is a derived demand. As this means changes in demand for coal will affect the demand for wages. Demand for labor.
So less wages.
Do you get it? So based on the case study, the extract one, there is decline in demand for coal, which means China moved from manufacturing into service, according to the case study, right? This will lead to a leftward shift in the demand curve of labor from D to D1. As the quantity of labor needed, the quantity of labor needed will fall because you don't need them anymore because based on the fact that most of the coal miners are moving to service, right? So the quantity for labor needed will fall from N to N1. That's the number of laborers needed, bringing about a fall in the wage rate from W to W1. So here we have the graph. So it can be graphically represented as this. This is the demand for labor. This is the wage rate at W. The wage rate is at W. W, QL, DL, and SL. Now, a decline in the quantity demanded, a decline in the coal industry will shift the demand for labor leftward from DL to DL1. As a result of that, the wage rate will fall from W to W1 because the quantity of labor needed would contract from QL to QL1. Is it clear? Question B. It said with reference to the extract 1 and extract 2, so we have to read the extract 2 now. Are you there?
Yes, sir.
So for extract 2, immobility of labor in the US. In 2016, there were 7.4 million unemployed in the US. At the same time, 27.5% of job vacancies remained unfilled after 60 days. While such a high level of vacancies exists, people are often unwilling to move location for the work or job anyway. A relocation subsidy financed by the government could be used to encourage workers to move to areas with job vacancies. This will help cover transport and housing costs. By moving people to where jobs exist, the need to pay unemployment benefits will fall. Even with the subsidies, some of the unemployed will be reluctant to move because of family and friends in their current location. Now we have the question. So with reference to extracts 1 and 2, explain the difference between occupational immobility of labor and geographical immobility of labor. So for occupational immobility of labor, it's the inability of workers to be able to switch from one job to another, may be due to lack of skills. And based on the case study, they lack transferable skills.
Because they're old.
Maybe they are old. No, there's no one that is too old to learn. Do you understand? But they lack the skills anyway, so that makes it difficult for them. So they lack the flexibility to switch from one job to another. That is occupational immobility of labor. Then we have geographical immobility of labor, which occurs when people are not willing to move from one location to another for employment. This could be based on the fact that they have family ties. They cannot just split with their family. Do you get that? So in this case study now, there are 7.4 million unemployed people, right? In the USA, which at the same time, there are 27.5% unfilled job vacancies. As people are not willing to move due to family ties. Clear? So that ends question 9B. So we go to 9C. With reference to extract 1, discuss the likely impact of the decline in coal mining on external costs. So we'll go back to extract 1. So based on the case study, external cost, what is external cost? External cost is the cost to the third parties. That is external cost, which is negative externality. Are you with me? Mm-hmm. So before the decline, mining of coal had caused pollution based on the case study. Said, coal mining causes environmental damage and significant pollution. That is it in the second paragraph. So which means before the decline, there was pollution based on coal mining. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So before the decline, Mining of coal had caused pollution, which is an external cause or negative externality. As coal mining reduces pollution, which is likely to reduce. As coal mining reduces, pollution is likely to reduce because increasing coal mining will increase pollution. So a decline in coal mining will decrease pollution. Yes or no? So that's the first impact there. So the mining of coal has caused health problems for people living in areas close to coal mines, based on the case study. So the pollution has an impact on the health of workers and the people there, right? As they are less productive and also absent, there's absenteeism.
Yeah,
That means workers are always absent because of health issues most of the time. Do you get that? That's another impact. Lack of productivity based on the fact that workers are not that healthy means firms might be making a loss. They won't be making profit. Yes or no?
yes, sir.
And also, lower output of coal will improve the health of workers and may likely increase productivity. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Any question about that? Are you getting it?
Yes.
That's C, right?
Yes.
Okay, we'll go to question D now, right? Right?
Yes.
Okay. With reference to extract 2, evaluate the likely impact on the introduction of a relocation subsidy of the unemployed in the USA. So we'll go back to extract 2. So for extract 2, we read it already. Then, first, what is subsidy? Subsidy is a financial help from government. That is subsidy. Now go to relocation subsidy. So for relocation subsidy, I wrote, relocation subsidy is a grant given to workers to encourage them to move into areas where there is employment. That is relocation subsidy. And what does relocation subsidy solve? It reduces the cost of relocation, which could be for the cost of transportation or the cost of housing. We are talking about it step by step now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So relocation subsidy is a grant given to workers to encourage them to move into areas with job vacancies. Subsidy on relocation will reduce the cost of relocation for people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the cost of transportation and housing may reduce as a result of that. Increasing the subsidy on relocation will likely reduce the number of unemployed from 7.4 million downward. It will reduce from 7.4. We don't know the extent, but it will reduce from 7.4 million downward.
Yes.
And also the percentage of unfilled vacancies due to geographical mobility will also reduce. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Will reduce significantly, and those areas that people are moving to now may witness increasing demand for goods and services. So which means the income level in that area would increase. These are impacts, yes or no? Yes or no?
Yes.
So geographical mobility, which leads to increasing employment, will
decrease.
will reduce the amount of money government spends on it. There will be geographical mobility now.
Mobility will reduce on the spending on
unemployment benefits. Yes. So geographical mobility, which leads to increasing employment, which is as a result of increasing employment, will reduce the amount of money government spends on unemployment benefits. However, relocation subsidy will increase government expenditure. That's an impact too. Yes or no?
Yes.
By providing subsidy on relocation, it is an opportunity cost, as governments might not be able to increase spending on healthcare or education. So that ends. I think I wrote something again. Yeah, that ends question D. We go to question E. Are you there?
Yes.
So for question E, they said we should read the extract 3. Let me go back. They said, with reference to extract 3, evaluate the likely impact of the introduction of a maximum wage. Illustrate your answer with a labor market diagram. So we need the demand for labor and supply of labor diagram. So extract 3. Maximum wage for high earners. In the UK, there is a widening income gap between the highest paid and the lowest paid workers. When there's income gap, that means the level of income doesn't, it's not ideal. So that means there's difference between the highest income and the low income earners. And government wants to solve this kind of problem. The government might solve it through minimum wage or maximum wage. So government introduced minimum wage or maximum wage to reduce the gap between the rich and the poor. Are you with me?
Yes.
Okay. So the earnings of business leaders have increased significantly in recent years. For example, executives of the top 100 businesses in the UK take on average just 4 days to earn the same as an average workers earn in a year. Jeremy Corbyn, a UK politician, has suggested the government suggestion here. It's a sort of normative statement. is a normative statement. Are you with me?
Yes.
Okay. Government should introduce maximum wage. He argued that footballers earning more than 50 million per year was excessively. Similarly, in 2014, the 10 highest earning female models earned excess of 50 million between them. That is positive statement because it's figures, you can trace it, you can check it. The introduction of maximum wage. Are you with me, please?
Yes, sir.
The introduction of maximum wage may cause some high earners to leave the country. Government tax revenue could fall because 27% of all income tax is paid by the highest earning 1% of the workforce. In countries where a maximum wage has been introduced for sports players, some have increased their incomes through sponsorship deals. So, the question now says, with reference to we should evaluate the impact of introducing maximum wage. First, what is maximum wage? Maximum wage is the wage ceiling which firms cannot pay above. The wage ceiling which firms cannot pay above. And when they are setting maximum wage, they set it below the equilibrium wage rate. Are you
with you.
So for minimum, if it is about minimum wage rate, it will be set above equilibrium wage rate. It's different from the price, minimum price and maximum price. For minimum price is set below, maximum price is set above. But here, maximum wage rate is set below, minimum wage rate is set above.
Yeah.
You get the difference here, please. So, maximum wage rate is set below the equilibrium wage rate based on the case study. So this will bring about excess demand for labor, as firms will be willing to employ more workers because the wage rate is falling now. If wage rate is below the equilibrium wage rate, it means it represents a reduction in the cost of wages for firms. So the demand for labor would increase. So it will lead to excess demand for labor. Do you get that?
Mm-hmm.
So the supply of labor is likely to fall as it doesn't encourage workers to want to get engaged. Footballers are earning 50% 50 million per year, which is excessive. It's part of the case study.
Yes.
Employers will find it difficult to attract workers as there is limit to what they can pay them. So they won't be able to pay them more.
Mm-hmm.
That means they might find it difficult to attract workers. Yes or no?
Yes.
So employers may find it difficult to attract workers as there is limit to pay them or attract them with when it comes to financial rewards. Government tax revenue is likely to fall as based on the case study, also based on the fact
the country.
27% of all income tax is paid by the highest earning 1% of the workforce who are likely to leave the country.
Mm-hmm.
So that ends question 9. And the exam price is question of 2019 January.